In the heart of New Orleans' French Quarter lies a 19th century mansion with a dark history shrouded in mystery and terror. Welcome to the LaLaurie House, notorious for its ghostly legends and gruesome past. The LaLaurie House has long been regarded as one of the most haunted locations in New Orleans, its dark past woven into the very fabric of the city's eerie folklore. For decades, visitors, residents, and even new owners have reported strange, inexplicable occurrences, ghostly apparitions flickering in the dimly lit hallways, disembodied whispers echoing through empty rooms, and sudden, chilling drafts that defy logic. Some claim to hear the anguished cries of unseen entities, while others recount feelings of dread and unseen hands brushing against their skin. But what is the true source of these hauntings? Are they merely the remnants of overactive imaginations, or does the household within its walls an enduring, restless energy, a manifestation of the horrors that once took place there? To understand the extent of the paranormal activity, we must first travel back in time, peeling away the layers of history to reveal the tragic and nightmarish events that cemented the LaLaurie House's place in the annals of supernatural lore. In the early 1800s, the mansion was home to Madame Delphine LaLaurie, a prominent New Orleans socialite, known for her wealth, elegance, and influence. With her finely tailored gowns and impeccable manners, she appeared to be the epitome of Southern aristocracy, hosting lavish gatherings in her grand residence, where the city's elite would revel in opulence. However, beneath the polished veneer of civility lurked a monstrous cruelty, hidden behind locked doors and heavy drapes. Madame LaLaurie was not just a woman of high society, she was a sadistic torturer, harboring a horrific obsession with inflicting suffering on the enslaved individuals she owned. Whispers circulated throughout the quarter about Madame LaLaurie's sadistic side and her fondness for abusing the slaves. By 1833, it was becoming harder for her to evade the attention of local authorities. Even her two daughters were also thought to be spiritless and unhappy looking. But the lady was so graceful and accomplished, so charming in her manners and so hospitable, that no one ventured openly to question her perfect goodness. The story goes that the mistress became upset when one of her slaves, a 12-year-old girl named Leah, caught a tangle while brushing her owner's hair. The cruel woman seized a whip and Leah ran. Leah's little legs carried her to the second floor, up through the attic, and to the roof of the mansion. As a neighbor looked on, Delphine LaLaurie emerged and closed in on the young girl. What happened next is a matter of speculation that is still discussed in New Orleans. Some say Leah lost her footing. Others say the woman pushed her. A few say that she jumped on purpose. All that is known for certain is that Leah tumbled from the roof of the mansion. Delphine's neighbor had witnessed this event. Seeing the child about to spring over, the witness put her hands before her eyes, but she heard the fall and saw the child taken up, her body bending and limbs hanging as if every bone in her body was broken. The lady watched for many hours, and at night the body was brought out, a shallow hole dug by torchlight in the corner of the yard, and the body covered over. No secret was made of what had been seen. An investigation ensued, and the court found the slave owner guilty of illegal cruelty against 9 slaves. As a result, she paid a fine and forfeited the slaves. On the morning of April 10th, 1834, the tranquil streets of New Orleans' French Quarter were disrupted by the thick curling plumes of smoke rising from the LaLaurie mansion. A fire had ignited in the kitchen, its flames crackling hungrily as neighbors and firefighters rushed to the scene, desperate to prevent the blaze from consuming the lavish estate. But after Madame LaLaurie and her guests fled the home, the volunteers came across a shocking sight. In the kitchen, they found a 70-year-old emaciated cook chained to the stove. As the cook later admitted, she had started the fire on purpose. Some sources claim the cook did this to die by suicide, while others state that the cook had hoped to draw attention to the abuse in the home. However, what they discovered inside was far more horrifying than the flames themselves. As the smoke cleared and rescuers forced their way through the burning structure, they stumbled upon a hidden chamber in the attic, a place of unspeakable horrors. The volunteers eventually made their way to the attic, where they were greeted by the most appalling spectacle, according to an April 11th, 1834 article from the local newspaper, the New Orleans Bee. The room reeked of decay and suffering. Bound in torturous positions, mutilated bodies of enslaved individuals bore the grotesque evidence of Madame Delphine LaLaurie's sadistic cruelty. Some were shackled to the walls, their bodies contorted unnaturally from years of abuse. Others lay on crude makeshift tables, their flesh riddled with deep lacerations and ghastly wounds, signs of twisted medical experiments gone horribly wrong. Witnesses described seeing limbs that had been broken and reset at unnatural angles, mouths crudely sewn shut, and eyes wide with permanent terror. Some poor souls still clung to life, their breath ragged, their pain beyond comprehension. The shocking discovery sent a wave of rage through the city. Word of LaLaurie's atrocities spread like wildfire, and an enraged mob descended upon the mansion, demanding justice for the tortured victims. But the woman at the heart of this horror had already vanished. Under the cover of darkness, Madame LaLaurie fled, escaping the grasp of a city that would forever curse her name. Some say she fled to Paris, living in exile until her death, while others believe she never truly escaped, that her sins tethered her spirit to the very house where she had committed such evil. But while LaLaurie may have disappeared, the darkness she left behind never truly faded. The walls of the mansion seemed to absorb the agony of the past, trapping the restless souls of those who had suffered within. For nearly 2 centuries, visitors and residents alike have reported eerie, unexplained occurrences, disembodied whispers drifting through empty corridors, the sound of rattling chains echoing in the dead of night, and chilling wails that seemed to rise from the floors themselves. Some claim to see shadowy figures flickering in their peripheral vision, fleeting glimpses of those who never found peace. Others recount being touched by unseen hands, feeling sudden icy breath upon their skin, or hearing anguished cries that seem to originate from nowhere and everywhere at once. Many believe that the spirits of the tortured slaves remain trapped within the mansion, bound by the injustice they suffered in life. Their pain lingers in the air, a spectral imprint of agony and torment, forever seeking recognition, justice, and perhaps a sliver of peace. Yet, for all the investigations, exorcisms, and attempts to cleanse the house, one truth remains. Whatever lurks within the LaLaurie mansion has no intention of leaving. The illusion of refinement shattered on an April morning in 1834 when a devastating fire broke out in the LaLaurie mansion. As flames engulfed parts of the house, neighbors and authorities rushed to the scene, only to uncover an unspeakable horror within. The blaze had been started in the kitchen, allegedly by an enslaved cook who had been chained to the stove, desperate to escape the nightmare she had endured. When authorities forced their way into a hidden upper chamber, they were met with a sight so grotesque that it would forever stain the history of the city. Emaciated, mutilated, and barely clinging to life, enslaved individuals bore the evidence of unspeakable torment. Bones were grotesquely broken and reset in unnatural positions, mouths cruelly sewn shut, and deep lacerations exposing raw muscle and sinew. The revelation sent shockwaves through New Orleans. An enraged mob formed outside the mansion, demanding justice for the atrocities committed within its walls. But before justice could be served, Madame LaLaurie vanished into the night, never to face the consequences of her unspeakable deeds. Some say she fled to France, living out the rest of her days in anonymity, while others believe she met a more fitting end, cursed by the very spirits she tormented in life. On April 11th, 1834, the New Orleans Bee stated, 7 slaves more or less mutilated were seen suspended by the neck, with their limbs stretched and torn from one extremity to the other. In her thesis paper for Louisiana State University, Katie Frances Marlis stated, the New Orleans Advertiser described finding one of the male slaves with a large hole in his head. His body from head to foot was covered with scars and filled with worms. Those who have seen the others represent them to be in a similar condition. Though the house has changed hands multiple times since that fateful day, its ominous reputation remains intact. Visitors speak of eerie sensations, cold spots, inexplicable shivers, and the distinct feeling of being watched. Others swear they have seen shadowy figures lurking in doorways, fleeting glimpses of the tortured souls that may still haunt the property. The cries of the past seem to echo through the walls, a chilling reminder that true evil never fades. It lingers, waiting, haunting, forever bound to the place where it was born. The LaLaurie House serves as a grim reminder of the darker aspects of human nature, where the boundaries of cruelty were pushed to the extreme. The haunting narratives surrounding the house testify to the enduring power of evil and the unrelenting desire for justice. One of the most compelling and unsettling pieces of evidence supporting the paranormal activity at the LaLaurie House is the eerie photograph captured by a tourist in 2015. While exploring the mansion's exterior, the visitor snapped a seemingly ordinary picture of the historic facade. However, upon reviewing the image later, they noticed something chilling: a shadowy, translucent figure of a young girl peering out from one of the upper windows. Her form was faint yet unmistakable, her features blurred as if caught between worlds. Some paranormal experts who have examined the photograph believe the apparition to be one of the many enslaved children who suffered under Madame LaLaurie's sadistic rule, forever bound to the house where she met her tragic fate. The chilling encounter quickly gained traction among ghost hunters and supernatural enthusiasts, becoming an integral part of the LaLaurie House's haunted lore. Those who have since visited the mansion claim to feel an overwhelming sadness near that very window, as though an unseen presence is desperately trying to reach out. Some have even reported hearing the faint sound of a child's sobs drifting through the air, only to vanish upon closer investigation. This infamous photograph stands as one of the most tangible pieces of evidence of the restless spirits said to inhabit the LaLaurie House, reinforcing its reputation as one of the most haunted locations in the country. Whether the image is truly that of a lingering soul, or simply an eerie trick of the light, it remains a haunting reminder that the horrors of the past may still be watching from the shadows, unseen but never truly gone. As we explore the depths of the LaLaurie House, we are reminded that some horrors are too great to be forgotten. Our ongoing fascination with this haunted location stems from our inherent desire to understand the unknown and confront the darkness that lurks within human hearts. In conclusion, the LaLaurie House stands as a haunting testament to Madame LaLaurie's brutal legacy, a grim reminder of the horrors humans are capable of inflicting upon each other. What do you think about the LaLaurie House and its dark history? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to check out my other videos on haunted locations.